Good afternoon, distinguished delegates. May I invite you to take your seats as we're about to commence this plenary session. Thank you. Thank you. This afternoon's session will commence with the election of member states to be represented on the Council in Part 3. Before we proceed, I wish to advise the Assembly that I am aware that a document has been circulated prior to the convening of this plenary. Consultations have been made with some of the regional organizations named on the document, and these organizations have indicated that they have no knowledge of the document and its distribution. While there are informal agreements, this distribution of this document is not official and not sanctioned by ICAO. Delegates are invited to vote on their own accord. Distinguished delegates will also recall that the President of the Council had previously spoken on the matter of the distribution of promotional material in the Assembly. The election process must be fair and free. Saudi Arabia.
شكرا سيد الرئيس.
Thank you, President. The Saudi Arabian delegation distributed the document which you've just referred, and I wish to affirm to you that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia very much respects this Assembly, and I wish to insist upon the fact that yesterday we sent an official email to ADB, the ADB director. And this morning we received agreement and we were told that our request had been granted. Moreover, there was a meeting yesterday between 4 regional organizations and representatives from these regional organizations, and we agreed upon the table which is in this document. We reaffirm once again our respect for the August Assembly. We have absolutely no intention of deviating from the standing rules of procedure, but we did have an electronic exchange and we obtained agreement by email. So we have proof of what we did. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished delegates, I do acknowledge that a request was sent to the inbox of the Office of the Director, ADB, but it was mistakenly considered as an invitation by the administrative staff that usually screens anything that comes into the inbox. As you know, many invitations were sent to the inbox of ADB for distribution for many of the invitations, for many of the events that you attended in the last few days. So this approval was given by a junior staff that did not that considered it as an invitation and approved it without referring to the administrative officer or to me or to my colleague who is coordinating A40 events. Clearly, this mistaken approval is against the procedures that have been established in the organization for the distribution of A40 material. As the officer in charge of ADB, I take full responsibility for this mistake, even though I was not aware that the person managing the inbox had responded without referring to the two levels of responsibility above her. So I confirm that this was a mistake, this was against the rules, and I would like the honorable representatives here present to consider it as a mishap. Thank you.
Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago, did you request to take the floor?
Negative.
Turkey.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to share something. As an ICAC member, I don't have any knowledge about the distribution of this paper. And whether the other ICAC members know this, whether it is coordinated among them, I don't know, but I don't have any information. The second thing, I think this is the manipulation of the elections and totally inappropriate. I request the presidency to call the assembly to disregard this paper, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And in my previous statement, I think I made it very clear the position on the document that has been distributed. United Arab Emirates.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. I think it's very clear that there has been some mistakes committed in here, and it's not from the side of the Saudis or from the parts of any others. The Secretariat has to take the responsibility of this to start with, number one. Number two, the list that has been provided, it's a common knowledge to everyone. So there's nothing new in this list. It's just a matter of a structured, organized, general information that we all have already. So I support the stand of the Saudis, and I think we should go and continue with our procedures. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, this was indeed a mishap which consisted in an administrative junior staff saying that the document mistakenly construed as an invitation was approved for distribution. But the distribution itself was not done by the Secretariat. It was not done by the Bureau of Administration and Services. Once again, I want to present my recognition, or I take responsibility for approving that document, but we didn't distribute it, and we would plead for this document to be disregarded for the purposes of this election. Thank you.
Distinguished delegates, we will proceed with agenda item 5, which concerns the election of member states to be represented on the ICAO Council for part 3. Before proceeding to the vote itself, I would like to again remind delegates of certain procedures that will be followed in relation to this voting session. For the purposes of the election of member states to the Council, attention is once again drawn to Assembly Working Paper A40, Working Paper 2, which is the relevant document providing detailed background information about the election, including the maximum number of seats for each part. The Secretary General's Memorandum of 30 September 2019 informs the Assembly of the names of the member states that have officially submitted their candidature for election to the Council in Part 3 as specified in the memorandum. For the detailed procedures on how the vote will be conducted today, I will shortly again invite the coordinator of the Assembly and Council Secretariat, Mr. Andrew Larkos, to outline the steps involved. Before doing so, however, I kindly request delegates to switch off all personal electronic equipment, including mobile telephones and laptop computers. This is so as to minimize possible interference with the electronic voting system. Please be assured that access will be restored once the election process is complete. Thank you for your cooperation. Mr. Larkos, I now hand over to you to outline to the Assembly how we will proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Before I commence reading the procedures for today's vote, I'd like to invite those delegates who are standing at the back of the room to inform you that CR3, the Roberto Corbe room, is open and it's live streaming of the session we're about to hold, where you'll be much more comfortable. You'll have a seat, so if you wish, we invite you to take the opportunity to go downstairs to that room. I'd also like to mention those people who are standing on the sides of the Assembly Hall. If you are not one of the monitors, we ask you to move away to the back of the room or to go downstairs to the Roberto Corbe room. That's for those of you that are not election monitors and you are standing on the sides of the Assembly Hall. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I should like to inform delegates that the election procedures we will be following this afternoon will be similar to the procedures we followed last Saturday on the 28th of September 2019 for the election of member states to the Council for parts 1 and 2. Indeed, some of the instructions that I'm about to read will be familiar to delegates who participated in the vote last Saturday. However, I ask for your understanding as we repeat these instructions, since there are a number of delegates present today who did not participate in the election process on Saturday. The voting procedures for this afternoon are as follows. 1. Voting tablets and PIN codes will be distributed only to those delegations that have the right to vote. 2. For the purposes of the vote, and in accordance with Rule 43 of the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly, only chief delegates, alternates, or delegates have the authority to vote on behalf of their delegation. Advisors are not entitled to vote. 3. To protect voter anonymity, delegations will be given the option to randomly choose a PIN code from one of several envelopes. There is to be only one PIN code per delegation with the right to vote. The names of all member states nominated for the purpose of the ballot, as well as a statement of the maximum number of member states to be elected, will be provided on the electronic ballot in your voting tablet. For the purposes of this ballot, 14 member states have nominated as candidates to fill the 13 available vacancies in Part 3. In order to submit a valid vote, you should vote for any number of candidates up to, but not exceeding 13 candidate states, since this is the number of vacancies to be filled by this ballot. An affirmative vote shall be indicated by selecting the name of the member state for which the vote is to be cast. In accordance with Rule 60 of the Standing Rules of Procedure of the Assembly, to be elected a member of the Council, a member state must receive the affirmative vote of a majority of the total number of member states voting. The submission of a ballot shall constitute the act of voting. As the President of the Assembly has already mentioned, we would at this time like to invite delegates to switch off all personal electronic equipment, including mobile phones and laptop computers. Thank you. This is so as to reduce the burden on the Wi-Fi system, as well as to minimize possible interference with the electronic voting system. Please be assured that access will be restored once the election process is complete. At this point, we would also like to invite those delegates. We've noticed a few who are filming the proceedings. Although the session is open, we ask you at this time to stop filming. Thank you. We would now start screening a short video presentation on the operational features of the electronic voting system. I encourage you to please follow this presentation by viewing the overhead screens. Thank you.
To start a voting session, click the Home button on the menu bar. You can select your preferred language by clicking on the appropriate language on the menu bar. You will be presented with a login page. To activate the keyboard to enter your PIN code, tap on the top text entry box. The keyboard will show at the bottom of the screen. You can now type your PIN code. If you make a mistake while typing your PIN code, tap the backspace button located at the top right corner of the keyboard. You will have to confirm your PIN code by entering it a second time. When you are done, tap the blue Login button. You can now select the member states you wish to vote for by tapping the empty box to the left of each state name. To unselect a member state, tap the same box again to remove the selection. To scroll down the list, tap the screen and hold, then drag up or down. Once you are satisfied with your choices, tap the blue Continue button. You will be presented with a confirmation page with a list of your selection. To modify your selection, tap the gray Change button to go back to the previous page. You can now modify your selection. Once you are satisfied with your choices, tap the blue Continue button. You will be presented with a confirmation page with a list of your selection. If you are satisfied with your selection, tap the blue Submit. This will submit your ballot and will conclude the voting process. Please note that if you wish to submit a blank ballot, tap the blue Continue button without making any selection. Once you have completed the voting process, you may click the Home button on the menu bar to return to the vote selection screen. Here you may view the results of the ballot when the voting is closed, and you may start the next vote when opened by clicking Vote Now.
Thank you. As an added instruction to the video, we'd like to remind delegates that once you are satisfied with your selections, you will need to click the blue Submit icon. Please note that you need to click the Submit button only once. If you do not immediately see the confirmation page, we ask you to be patient and please refrain from clicking again on the Submit icon. Just to repeat, you only need to click the Submit button once. I would now like to invite the election monitors to take up their positions prior to the commencement of the distribution of voting tablets and PIN codes. Thank you, monitors. As the election monitors move into position prior to distribution, I would like to mention a few more relevant points. Firstly, the election monitors will distribute one voting tablet and one PIN code envelope to each delegation with the right to vote. In addition to the voting tablets and the PIN codes, the monitors have a list of the names of all member states. The chief delegate, or the person taking the place of the chief delegate, will be required to sign that list in order to acknowledge receipt of the PIN code. This also ensures that your delegation is included in the record of the meeting as having participated in the vote. It is important that when delegates receive their PIN code envelopes, that you do not open the envelope until the distribution to all delegates is complete. I repeat this point. Please do not open the PIN code envelope until the distribution process to all delegations is complete. I will inform the Assembly when it is time to open your PIN code envelope. Just before we commence the distribution of voting tablets and PIN codes, one final point to mention is that we would like to ask delegates to please assist the election monitors by making space so that the monitors can pass through as they proceed with the distribution. This is especially important to those delegates sitting in the second row behind their delegation. The Assembly Hall is very full today, so if you could please assist us either by standing up or moving to the side so that they can pass through, that would be greatly appreciated and it would speed up the process. Thank you. Are all election monitors in place? Thank you. That being the case, I now ask them to please commence the distribution of PIN codes and voting tablets. Thank you, monitors. Once again, dear delegates, we ask you to assist the monitors in their work by cooperating and making room as they pass through with the distribution. If you see the monitors approach, we kindly ask you to stand up so that it can facilitate the distribution process. It is also important to remind delegates to please refrain from opening the envelope or handling or touching the screen of the voting tablets until all the tablets and envelopes have been distributed and until the ballots have been activated for the voting session. We will inform the Assembly when the ballots have been activated and when it is time to open your PIN code in envelope. Thank you to those delegates who are standing up as the monitors move through. That is really helpful. Thank you. Delegates are reminded that you will be required to sign for your envelope, and you are requested to refrain from touching the screen of the voting tablets until we commence the vote. Once again, delegates, thank you for your cooperation. For those that have still not received their PIN codes and tablets, we would ask you to please stand up, those delegates sitting in the second row, to assist and facilitate the work of the monitors. We also would like to remind you at this time that when you receive the PIN code envelope, please refrain from opening it and touching the screen of the tablet until the distribution process has been completed. Thank you. For those monitors who have completed the distribution of PIN code envelopes, I remind you of the need to return any unused envelopes to the podium. Thank you. Thanks, Ted. Thank you for your patience, dear delegates. We're nearly at the end of the distribution. Most of the groups have completed. We're just waiting for the final two groups. Thank you. Thank you, delegates, for your cooperation. Thank you, election monitors, for the distribution. As the monitors have now completed the distribution of the voting tablets and PIN codes, we just would like to verify that all delegations with the right to vote have indeed received a voting tablet and PIN code. Is there any delegation with the right to vote that has not received either a voting tablet or a PIN code envelope? Could you please raise your hand? Thank you. Before we activate the ballot for this session, we would just like to remind delegates that when voting, you need to click the submit button once only. If you do not immediately see the confirmation page, we ask you to be patient and please refrain from clicking again on the submit icon. Please avoid double-clicking the submit button. Thank you. If all is in readiness, I would now like to ask the Secretariat to please activate the ballot for this part. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am informed that the ballot has been activated, so the voting session is now open. You are free to open your PIN code envelopes. On your voting tablet, if you do not see the login screen, please press the home button on the top menu bar or in the lower right corner of the screen in order to provide the login screen. Thereafter, you will need to enter your PIN code, but please note that you will need to enter the PIN code twice in order to confirm the code. It should also be noted that the PIN codes are not case sensitive. This means that you do not need to enter the PIN code in capital letters. Should anyone require assistance at any time, please raise your hand and a member of the Secretariat will provide assistance. You are also assured that sufficient time is allocated for the submission of the ballots. I will inform you when we are approaching the end of the voting session. This is a reminder that in order to view all the candidates on the ballot, you will need to scroll up and down the list by touching the scroll bar. This was explained as part of the earlier video presentation. Although the names of the candidates are listed in all 6 official United Nations languages, the ordering of the candidates on the ballot is shown according to the English language alphabetical order. Delegates will need to use the scroll bar to view the names of those candidate countries that are lower down on the list. Delegates are also reminded that for this Part 3 vote, you retain the option to vote for up to and including 13 candidates only on the ballot. The choice of which candidates is entirely yours. Likewise, in order to submit a blank ballot, you are reminded that you simply just click the blue Continue icon without selecting any candidates if that is your choice. I wish to remind everyone that in order to complete the voting process, you will need to click the blue Continue icon, whereupon you will see the confirmation page. If you are sure of your selections, you can click the Submit button. However, if you wish to modify your selections, you can click the grey Change icon. Once again, once you are sure of your selections, you need to click the blue Submit icon. Again, we remind delegates that you only need to click the Submit button once. If you do not immediately see the confirmation page, we ask you to be patient and refrain from double-clicking the Submit icon. So it's 89 is needed. But I'm hoping. Ladies and gentlemen, I am informed that the majority of eligible delegates have now cast their vote. If any delegation needs additional time because they're having difficulties, we ask you to raise your hand. Is there any delegation that has not yet submitted its electronic vote? Once again, if you are encountering difficulties, please raise your hand and a member of the Secretariat will come to assist you. Thank you. Is there any delegation that requires more time in order to submit their ballot? If so, we ask you to please raise your hand and a member of the election team will come and assist you. Thank you. Sorry. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am informed that all ballots are now in. Therefore, the voting for this part will close shortly. I ask the Secretariat to please close the voting session. This means that no further ballots can be submitted. So, ladies and gentlemen, the results of the ballot for Part 3 are as follows. Costa Rica, 144 votes. Côte d'Ivoire, 147 votes. Dominican Republic. Dominican Republic, 154 votes. Equatorial Guinea, 138 votes. Greece, 159 votes. Malaysia, 143 votes. Paraguay, 151 votes. Peru, 157 votes. Qatar, 112 votes. Republic of Korea, 164 votes. Sudan, 126 votes. Tunisia, 153 votes. United Arab Emirates, 152 votes. Zambia, 145 votes. Therefore, the result of the ballot means that the following member states have been elected to serve on the Council: Costa Rica, Côte d'Ivoire, Dominican Republic, Equatorial Guinea, Greece, Malaysia, Paraguay, Peru, the Republic of Korea, Sudan, Tunisia, United Arab Emirates, and Zambia. Congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, I should also like to take this opportunity to make mention of the following countries which have just been elected for the very first time to the Council in the 75 years of the organisation, making this as not only a significant milestone moment in the history of ICAO, but also as a very special moment for the following countries: Côte d'Ivoire, Equatorial Guinea, Greece, Sudan, and Zambia. Special congratulations to all of you. Before we conclude the voting session, I would now like to ask again a representative of the external audit firm BDO to please confirm to the Assembly the security, accuracy, and confidentiality of the election, and that there was no external interference in the process that we just undertook. You have the floor, sir. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hossein Shobaki from BDO Jordan. We, BDO Jordan, with cooperation with BDO Canada, have been engaged to review and certify the security, accuracy, and confidentiality of the electronic voting system, EVS, as being part of the election of the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. Our work covered the security controls regarding the supplier of the EVS, simply voting, as well as the security controls relating to the voting tablets, the network, and the personal identification numbers, PINs. We delivered a report on September 12, 2019, that confirmed all our procedures we performed, our observations, and our conclusion. It is to note that we didn't find any significant issues relating to the security, accuracy, and confidentiality of the electronic voting System, AVS. Another final report will be provided within the days following the entire voting completion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We need your attention and cooperation as the election monitors move around the room to collect the tablets. If the election monitors could please commence the collection process. Thank you. Mr. President, it is my pleasure to inform you that this now concludes the voting for all three parts of the election of member states to the ICAO Council for the next triennium. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, delegates all. We will allow about 15 minutes for the congratulations, and we will commence the statements at 25 minutes after 3. Thank you very much, delegates. We will reconvene. Before we move into the agenda items, I just wish to congratulate all those states who have been elected to the council. And I wish to also thank the members of the Secretariat for all their preparations and assistance in the election process. We have one slight change in the order of business. We will take the report of the Legal Commission at this time, as the chairman has to leave immediately after. So we will take the report from the Legal Commission, after which we will move into the statements by delegations from member states. I now give the floor to Indonesia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, especially for your indulgence to give me the opportunity to deliver the report of the work of the Legal Commission to this meeting. Mr. Chairman, the Legal Commission held 3 meetings between the 25th and 30th September 2019 with the participation of 127 states. I had the privileges to chair the meetings. At its first meeting, the Commission elected Mr. Jeffrey Klang from the United States and Mr. Mohammed Mansour Al-Ruqaisi from Oman as its first and second vice chairpersons, respectively. The Legal Commission completed consideration under Agenda Item 37 of the annual reports of the Council to the Assembly for 2016, 2017, and 2018, as well as the supplement for the first half of the 2019. Under Agenda Item 38, the Commission reviewed the work program of the organization in the legal field, in particular, the items on the general work program of the Legal Committee. It decided to add a new item, processes and procedures for states to fulfill their obligation under Article 12 of Chicago Convention with priority number 3 into the work program. It further decided to merge previous item number 4 and 5 to read acts or offenses of concern to the international aviation community, including cyber threat that may not be adequately covered by existing air law instruments, and to broaden the scope of item number 8 to now concern itself with the study of international legal issues relating to global satellite system and services supporting international air navigation services. The Commission further supported how certain agenda items could be pragmatically addressed in an environment of budgetary constraint. Mr. Chairman, under Agenda Item 39, the Commission reviewed the consolidated statement of continuing policies of ICAO in the legal field and proposed amendments reflecting the work completed by the organization to provide guidance to states on dealing with unruly and disruptive passengers. The resolution also reflects the outcomes from the inaugural Civil Aviation Legal Advisor Forum held in Singapore in May 2019 and provides for means to enhance the capacity and effectiveness of states to implement air law treaties and update national laws and regulation. As regards Agenda Item 40, the Commission welcomed the information presented by China on its development of targeted and precise oversight and looks forward to China sharing information on future developments. The Commission also noted with interest the information presented by Air Crash Victim Families Federation International, with a view to improving victims' compensation. Mr. Chairman, now I'm arriving at the last part of my report. I'm now submitting this report to plenary under agenda item 40, working paper number 617 for approval of the meeting. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much for your report, and thank you and the committee for the work done in this commission. To the plenary, I ask if you have any comments on the report. I will just ask on the general headings, and you can provide your comments as necessary. Under the heading General and Agenda and Working Arrangements. Any comments on the agenda item 37? Agenda item 38. Agenda item 39. And agenda item 40. I see no comments. Thank you very much. The report of the Legal Commission has been adopted. Thank you very much. Distinguished delegates, we will now move into statements by delegations of member states, and I now call on the distinguished delegate from Sierra Leone to make your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me first of all congratulate the new members of the Council for their election. The ICAO President, Mr. Ballot, the Secretary General, Mr. Fong Wu, colleague ministers and directors of respective states, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, His Excellency the retired Dr. Julius Maada Bio, who has a long-lasting relationship with the aviation community dating as far back in the early 90s as a young military officer trained by the UN in aviation security. This brief history about our president tells you the level of political support given to the development of civil aviation in Sierra Leone under the new direction administration. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to highlight some of the key issues relating to the state of civil aviation in Sierra Leone today. With specific reference to the new direction manifesto of President Bio, I will begin with the quote from the President. Enforcement of regulation by the Civil Aviation Authority continues to be weak, and CAA is not economically sustainable given its inability to generate revenue and its low level of competency and capability. This is an extract from the policy statement delivered by the President Bio at the state opening of the first session of the 5th Parliament of the Second Republic of Sierra Leone in May 2018. Barely a month upon assuming office from his electoral victory in the national election. This was not a mere political statement, but one that requires specific policy action because our president is nicknamed talk and do, meaning when he says something, he does it. Today, I'm proud to report to you that we have an autonomous civil aviation authority with strong political support from the President and the government of Sierra Leone. For the first time in the history of our country, the development of the civil aviation industry has been given much prominence by making the Sierra Leone authority financially autonomous and including the enhancement of global aviation safety and security in our National Development Plan 2019 to 2023. noting the fact that international connectivity in our country is served by the Freetown International Airport only, and according to a report of the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, we are far below the 60% safety threshold, commonly referred to as Abuja safety target, and also below some of the global targets under the Windlock Declaration of Civil Aviation Security and Facilitation. In light of the above, the President bill on August 26, 1919 convened the House of Parliament for repeal and replacement of Civil Aviation Act 2017 to provide a strong legal framework that is compliant with ICAO standard and recommended practice in both aviation safety and security oversight for the state, and also ratify certain protocol and convention. As I speak, I'm proud to announce to the aviation family that the state of Sierra Leone now has a robust civil aviation primary legislation, Civil Aviation Act of 2019. Again, this is the first time in the history of Sierra Leone for government agency or SOE to push government to reconvene parliament. Reconvening parliament from recess had only been done once in the last 2 decades, and that was during the Ebola outbreak, which was considered a global and national public health emergency. I'm recalling this event for you, ladies and gentlemen, to lay bare the fact that aviation in Sierra Leone is in a different trajectory and not the business as usual. Again, this backdrop, I wish to reaffirm Sierra Leone's strong commitment to upholding the ideas and principles of ICAO under both Chicago and Montreal Convention, and also the spirit of no country left behind. Sierra Leone is also one of 28 African countries that have subscribed to the full implementation of single African air transport market. As a signatory to the air transport market, we have made significant progress in its implementation. In addition, tremendous efforts have been put in place by the Bureau-led administration to settle outstanding areas owed to international organizations like ICAO, AFCA, Bagasu, BAG, etc. Of course, I can purely assert that it is the first time in government a government has owned up to embark on settlement of international commitment in 2 decades. The government of Sierra Leone, through the Ministry of Finance and the CAA, have paid $260,000 to ICAO and arrears remaining balance of $40,000, which will be settled next year. Of this effort, all these efforts are a clear demonstration of strong political will in Sierra Leone in push toward attaining a safe and secure civil aviation system, and thus contribute our share of values toward the enhancement of global aviation security as security by ICAO and other environmental partners. At this junction, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I humbly request that you join me in thanking ICAO, particularly the regional office in Dakar, for their continued support towards the enhancement of global aviation safety and security in Sierra Leone. The provision of technical assistance by the regional office, particularly under the Safe Fund project and other mission visits in aviation safety, security, and facilitation visits have been very helpful to the state of Sierra Leone. Other partners' contribution to State Sierra Leone world recognition include Nigeria CAA, IATA, Bagasu, AFCA, ACI, UK CAA, Singapore, and East Africa School of Aviation. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, let me assure this global aviation family of our government commitment to provide and the enabling political environment as required by ICAO to support the Civil Aviation Authority in the process of regulating and implementing aviation safety and security standards in Sierra Leone without any political interference. I thank you all.
Thank you. I now invite the distinguished delegate of New Zealand to present your statement.
On behalf of the New Zealand Government, I would like to thank the President of the Council for allowing me the opportunity to speak at the 40th International Civil Aviation Organisation General Assembly. The Assembly enables members of the international aviation community to review and deliberate technical aviation standards to ensure we continue to have the best standards in place to address the important and ever-evolving aviation issues the global community faces. This includes issues in aviation safety, air navigation, aviation security, economic development, and environmental and health protection. The Assembly also enables relevant authorities to learn about the latest developments in the global civil aviation sector. As the global body to which the whole aviation community looks for the guidance and leadership to achieve the highest levels of safety and security, ICAO has an invaluable role to play as a key enabler of global connectivity. The confidence the travelling public has in aviation and the orderly manner in which air transport has developed over the decades are a tribute to ICAO's ongoing efforts. New Zealand supports the substantive participation of all active members of the international aviation community in ICAO forums. The participation and attendance of all countries and territories involved in regional and global aviation at the Assembly, and more generally, is imperative for international aviation safety and the safety of all people that participate in international air travel. All relevant authorities should be provided the opportunity to contribute to the safety of the global civil aviation community, which benefits everyone involved. It is also important that all relevant authorities that participate in the international aviation community have access to real-time information of safety concern. Air transport is vulnerable to sudden and dramatic developments. Where these have adverse consequences for users of the aviation system, it is vital that information is made readily and widely available. This can avoid similar instances from occurring, with a very real saving in human and economic harm. Countries and territories should not be denied timely access to such vital information, nor denied the opportunity to input their own insights and experiences where these can be of value to all. Thank you for this opportunity to emphasise the importance New Zealand places on global aviation cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. I now invite the distinguished representative of the Maldives to present the statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. It is a great honor to join you here at this session of the 40th General Assembly of the International Civil Aviation Organization. I wish to thank ICAO for the opportunity to speak on this very important occasion. Ladies and gentlemen, to say aviation is important to the Maldives is an understatement. Aviation represents 10.3% of the Maldivian GDP, the highest in the APEC region. If you consider the induced effects, it amounts to 37% of the GDP. In Maldives, we often reiterate that aviation is tourism and tourism is aviation, given that almost all tourists arrive by air. It is evident that aviation is crucial. Aviation is critical for our economic survival. But the good news is, like the rest of the world, aviation in Maldives is expanding rapidly. The question for the Maldivian government, and I think for all of us here, is how do we ensure expansion of such a critical sector safely, securely, and in an environmentally responsible manner. Talking about our country brings me to the very important topic of environment. It is only our environment that enthralls the many people that visit us. Maldives, a small low-lying island nation, is extremely vulnerable to climate change. Without a firm action, our position will only become riskier. Without a firm action, the tremendous growth could easily become our weakness. We must mitigate the impact of aviation on environment and mitigate them quickly. Yet we remain optimistic. The initiative of ICAO, and particularly the actions resulting from the last session of this assembly, give us great hope. We strongly urge the international community to maintain the momentum of the last assembly and implement COSIA across the board. In the Maldives, we remain committed to the ICAO, COSIA, and other environmental protection initiatives led by ICAO. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe the mission of every contracting state is to ensure a safe and efficient aviation system. This is also at the heart of ICAO's mission. The Maldives is a small state with limited resources. We believe safety is not something we can do alone. This is not only because Maldives is a small state with limited resources, but also because of the close integration of aviation at both the regional and state level. We must therefore plan together. We must cooperate and collaborate. In this regard, ICAO Global Air Navigation Plan and the Global Aviation Safety Plan provide frameworks for us to collaborate and achieve the safety and efficiency improvements that are so required. The Maldives once again confirm our commitment to implement these plans as we did in the Beijing Declaration. We are also pleased to say the Maldives has made considerable progress on PBN, the highest priority under the ICAO Global Air Navigation Plan. We also take this opportunity to thank ICAO for our regional and international partners that continue to help enhance aviation safety in the Maldives. We firmly believe all of you will continue to work together with us, and together we believe nothing is impossible. Ladies and gentlemen, ICAO's initiative of No Country Left Behind has proved to be crucial for small states like the Maldives. It is one which we will take aviation further and higher while maintaining consistency. This opportunity is fitting to highest that Maldives was one of the recipients of the Council President's Certificate on Aviation Security. This is something that has given us the confidence to set greater goals. As I come to a close, this is important to stress upon the historic moment we have reached in aviation history. ICAO's 75th anniversary is not only a joyous occasion, but one to be treasured for the excellence the organization has achieved. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot has been done, and at the same time, we should remain vigilant and do more. It is our duty to the flying public. Thank you very much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our work. Ameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. I now ask the distinguished delegate from St. Lucia to take the floor.
The President, the government of St. Lucia extends its compliments to ICAO on the convening of the 40th session of the Assembly of the organization. St. Lucia also takes this opportunity to congratulate all states which have been elected to the ICAO Council. St. Lucia looks forward to working with ICAO and all contracting states in the best interest of aviation safety, security, and for continued efficiency. As a contracting state, Mr. President, St. Lucia is up to date with its payments to ICAO. St. Lucia is a small island developing state located in the Eastern Caribbean. Aviation is an important facet of the country's development strategy, as tourism is the largest contributor to our nation's GDP. Recognizing this, St. Lucia will soon commence what will be the largest infrastructure project in our history. We are, of course, referring to the redevelopment of the Hiwanora International Airport, our gateway to the world. With the support of friendly governments and other means of financing, St. Lucia will invest over US $200 million in the construction of a new terminal building, air traffic control tower, new taxiway, resurfacing of the runway, and flood mitigation measures. This project is critical to St. Lucia's development, and we will, of course, be in close contact with the ICAO North American, Central American, and Caribbean NAC regional office to ensure that this project meets the highest levels of safety. St. Lucia's efforts in aviation are not confined only to infrastructural development. Our Prime Minister, the Honorable Alan Chasney, as current chair of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, has been a tireless advocate for regional cooperation in aviation. In this regard, St. Lucia recently acceded to the CARICOM Multilateral Air Services Agreement and continues to strongly support the Caribbean Aviation Safety and Security Oversight System, CASOS. In the CARICOM quasi-cabinet, St. Lucia is lead on sustainable development, which includes matters affecting the environment and disaster management. This is a responsibility which St. Lucia takes seriously, especially with respect to the possible impacts of climate change. In this regard, St. Lucia commends ICAO on its recent decision to implement the Carbon Offsetting and Reduction Scheme for International Aviation, or CORSIA. St. Lucia therefore encourages the aviation industry as a whole to do its part to mitigate the effects of climate change. An important goal of ICAO is the operation of a seamless network for aviation safety and security. The inference which can be drawn is that all entities which have a significant impact on global aviation, which control major flight information regions, whose airports serve large volumes of international airlines and passengers, should be permitted to participate in the deliberations of this august body. Unfortunately, one such entity which possesses all of these characteristics is not deemed to be entitled to observer status. St. Lucia views this as not being in the interest of aviation safety and security. St. Lucia believes that this entity's participation in this organization is consistent with the ICAO's goal of a seamless network for aviation safety. St. Lucia therefore requests that this assembly, in the interest of global aviation safety and security, consider the grant of observer status to the Republic of China on Taiwan to attend the ICAO assembly and to participate in such organs of the ICAO as the Council sees fit. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Distinguished delegates, I wish to reiterate that ICAO strictly adheres to the One China policy and cannot entertain statements to the contrary. I also wish to remind delegates to keep statements in line with agenda items. Thank you. I now call on the distinguished delegate from Morocco to please take the floor.
Thank you, President. On behalf of Merciful God and President of the General Assembly and President of the Council and Madam Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, heads of delegations, first of all, I wish to very much thank the ICAO Assembly and all of its bodies for the important efforts that have been made in ICAO to reinforce international cooperation in the area of civil aviation. I also wish to congratulate all of the delegations who actually participate and are participating within this assembly and are part of the efforts that have been deployed in order to further promote civil aviation. The Kingdom of Morocco has pursued various infrastructure projects, and we've moved on to a new stage. Morocco has become a place with many development projects, and we've given particular priority to air transport. It's a fundamental element for the economic and social development of all countries, and it's intimately linked to the development of other sectors, including, of course, tourism and aviation. This is a dynamic movement which has led to positive restructuring. Thus, Morocco has been able to launch a policy opening up the country in line with ICAO's principles, and this openness principle is based on the following points, namely to improve transparency when it comes to access to the sector and its practices, and also improve the various links by increasing more aviation links and encourage the setting up of new airlines. The bilateral agreements have also been signed, and there's more usage of the Casablanca airport, and we've also been implementing safety and security measures, as well as consumer protection measures and environmental protection measures. At the end of 2016, Morocco signed an agreement, an open skies agreement, in fact, with Europe. This was the first agreement with any country in the South Mediterranean basin. And there was also an agreement with South American countries and with the United States that have been signed in the meantime. The agreement with the US was signed in 2001. Within the framework of this liberalization, Morocco has adopted the necessary steps to sign up to the Yamoussoukro Declaration to liberalize aviation in Africa. This means that Morocco will no longer have any restrictions in terms of air transport rights as regards capacity or the number of destinations that it can provide. And the air transport liberalisation policy adopted in Morocco has meant that we've been able to increase the volume by 6.6% when it comes to the number of passengers, has gone from 10.4 million to a much higher level in 2014, and several foreign airlines exist side by side with national operators, such as the various low-cost airlines, because they are more competitive in terms of cost. There are 51 low-cost companies that actually offer regularly scheduled trips to Morocco. And Casablanca Airport is in a good position to play the role of being an international hub. And over 98 international airports are linked up with the Casablanca Airport. We have related activities that have also been launched. Morocco has been able to develop an aerospace industry based on the quality and diversity and the significant capacity that we have. So international actors have set up shop in Morocco. This has reinforced our ecosystems in this matter. There are 140 international actors, including the Boeing ecosystem, that have now set up shop in Morocco. This means that Morocco really is a pioneer in Africa in terms of being an exporter of aeronautical products. We've also liberalised all of the activities related to this sector, and we've improved the rules of access and current practices. Turning now to the African market. It's very strategic for Morocco. The volume has really developed. The number of passengers has gone from 600,000 to 2005 to over 1 million of passengers in 2018, and the average increase was 9.5% over this period between 2005 to 2018. And the Royal Air Maroc is a leading airline in Africa and has created a network that covers 30 destinations in 27 African countries with an average of 180 flights on a daily basis. This means that we can actually benefit from the Casablanca International Airport becoming a true hub. And to really crown all of these initiatives with success, Morocco is implementing all of the recommendations from ICAO related to safety and security matters. And we also endeavour to keep abreast of all of the international standards. The legal framework in Morocco draws inspiration from the guidance material produced by ICAO. We've got a law 413 that was adopted in 2016, and we're continuing with that law. And there's also a draft bill on passenger rights. This draws inspiration from the international conventions that apply in this area. We've also tried to ensure that we harmonize our legislation with the European legislation. With reference to the Open Skies Agreement that was signed with Europe in 2006. And in this text, this stipulates the conditions for compensating passengers if there are delays that are incurred or there's another situation that prevents them from catching their flight. Morocco is very much in a modernization phase, and we're really forging ahead with civil aviation. We have acquired new equipment to facilitate air navigation, and also we have purchased various telecommunications equipment. We've therefore been able to automate all of the work related to air traffic control matters. Thus, our system is ready to be integrated into the CSN ATM system. We've also started to use the new Agadir Center in the south of Morocco. This new center will help us to carry out air traffic control activities in a decentralized way when we have aircraft that's crossing Morocco. And we've also enlarged various airports in Morocco, and we've fitted them with the most modern cutting-edge equipment. We've got new runways. There are 26 airports that exist in 18 international airport centres, and these meet all of the technical criteria and all of the international standards in order to provide high-quality service. And we are able to welcome any type of aircraft. We imagine that the passenger volumes will actually double between now and 2035. We've also set up a laboratory for processing aircraft data. This laboratory has been opened in order to further improve data processing quality, in particular if there are any incidents or accidents that occur. Morocco also wants to put aviation on a sustainable footing. And we are drawing on the different elements and actions that are MBMs, and we've also signed up to CORSIA in line with the decision taken by the Assembly resolutions, and also in line with ICAO guidance material. Finally, I would like to say that Morocco very much wants to step up international cooperation and will deploy all of the necessary efforts in order to put the Assembly resolutions into practice. We are prepared to support all efforts undertaken to promote international civil aviation. Thank you very much.
The distinguished delegate from the United Republic of Tanzania, you have the floor.
Mr. President of the Assembly, Mr. President of the Council, Madam Secretary General, Honorable Ministers, Director Generals of Civil Aviation Authorities, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. Greetings from the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, His Excellency Dr. John Pombe Joseph Magufuli. On behalf of the government of the United Republic of Tanzania and my delegation, it gives me honor and pleasure to have this opportunity to deliver this statement to this 40th ICAO Assembly being held at this great city of Montreal, Quebec province in Canada. I wish to start by congratulating you for being elected as the President of this 40th Assembly. I further take this opportunity on behalf of the Tanzanian delegation to extend our high gratitude and appreciation to the Government of Canada and the Minister of Transport of Canada for their warm welcome and excellent hospitality in hosting this assembly in this beautiful city of Montreal. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate the member states that have been elected to the Council in all parts, 1, 2, and 3. This is an indication that you have been entrusted to push ahead the critical agenda of all member states of promoting safety, security, and economic prosperity of the aviation system across all members of ICAO in the globe. Mr. President, the United Republic of Tanzania is enormously endowed with natural attractions for tourism from all walks of the world. This includes Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the highest mountain in Africa, standing at 5,895 meters above mean sea level. Serengeti National Park, which is one of the 7 natural wonders of Africa and one of the natural travel wonders of the world, for being the site of the largest terrestrial animals migration in the world. There are also beautiful beaches in the island of Zanzibar, which have gained the attention of tourists due to their uniqueness coupled with peace that the United Republic of Tanzania has maintained over the years. I wish to take this opportunity to welcome you all to Tanzania for leisure with your families to enjoy the beauty and wonders that the God has blessed us. Mr. President, on 22nd of August 2019, the United Republic of Tanzania joined ICAO Secretariat and other member states in commemorating the ICAO 75th anniversary by hoisting the ICAO flag at the peak of the highest mountain in Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro. The Director General of Tanzania Civil Aviation Authority, Mr. Hamza Johari, personally led the team by climbing the mountain to the top and successfully hoisted the flag on behalf of the government of the United Republic of Tanzania. It is my great honor to indicate that the hoisting of the ICAO flag has enormously promoted aviation in our country. Mr. President, the government of the United Republic of Tanzania highly acknowledges the work of the President of the Council, Dr. Olumuyiwa Bernard Aliu, and the Secretary General, Dr. Feng Liu, with the entire Secretariat team for their dedication and professional management and leadership of this organization, which have consequently been a catalyst to the majority of individual member states in successfully managing their aviation systems in terms of safety, security, economic aspect. I wish to recognize the great contribution of Dr. Aliu towards No Country Left Behind initiative, as well as the environmental protection work under COSIA and many more. Dr. Aliu, your indispensable leadership is a legacy to the evolution of this organization. Mr. President, The United Republic of Tanzania, as an active ICAO contracting state, support the vision of ICAO of safe, secure, and sustainable development of civil aviation through cooperation of its member states. We are committed to the ICAO core objectives in sustaining the highest achievable level of safety, security, environmental protection, and sustainable development of air transport. United Republic of Tanzania recognizes and contributes to these objectives by participating in ICAO initiatives, including being in the forefront participation in ICAO safety and security audits since their inception. Tanzania has consistently committed in implementing the standards and recommended practices and associated procedures and guidance materials to ensure that the level of effective implementation is always above the global average. In this endeavor, the United Republic of Tanzania participated in audits under the ICAO Universal Safety Oversight Program, USOAP ICVM, and the Universal Security Audit Program, USAP, in the year 2017 and 2015, respectively. The United Republic of Tanzania was issued with an ICAO Presidential Award by the Council President in October 2018 for the outstanding performance in the USOAP audit. Recognizing the importance of developing human capacity in aviation, Tanzania Civil Aviation Authorities operates a civil aviation training center which was registered under the ICAO trainer since 2005 and is currently an associate member of ICAO Trainer Plus, providing specialized training in aviation. The center is available for use by the Tanzanian aviation industry and other ICAO member states, particularly from Africa. Mr. President, in order to support the air transport growth, the government has embarked in a number of projects to improve airport infrastructure. These projects include the completion of the construction of a new state-of-the-art passenger Terminal 3 of Julius Nyerere International Airport in Dar es Salaam, which will provide a sustainable facelift to the growing air traffic and passenger demand. Other projects include construction of a new passenger terminal and rehabilitation and extension of taxiways and aprons at Abeid Aman Karume International Airport in Zanzibar. Mr. President, the United Republic of Tanzania is working as part of the global initiatives in modernizing its air traffic management and air navigation facilities by implementing a number of projects, including developing area navigation RNAV approaches for efficiency and fuel saving, as well as reduction of emissions. Purchase and installation of radar systems at its 4 strategic airports so as to have full surveillance of the entire country. In this project, I'm glad to say ICAO is a technical consultant, and I wish to thank ICAO for the job well done so far. Installation of automatic independent surveillance broadcast as a backup in the eastern sector of Dar es Salaam Flight Information Region is also one of the projects, and switching from aeronautical fixed telecommunication network to AUFTN to aeronautical message handling system. Mr. President, in order to enhance air transport facilitation and contribution to the Tanzanian economy, the government of the United Republic of Tanzania has entered into bilateral air services agreement with other ICAO member states and reviewing the existing ones to allow more liberal provision. Subsequently, Tanzania has bases with more than 72 ICAO member states. Air transport facilitation in Tanzania is a permanent agenda. Through Tanzania Civil Aviation Authority, we have been implementing Annex 9 to ensure effective facilitation of the passengers. Mr. President, the United Republic of Tanzania is actively participating in the development of market-based measures regarding aircraft engine emission, which include emission trading in a flexible manner. A focal point has been appointed who participated in the CORSIA training and capacity building conducted by ICAO, which included 2 local airlines operators. The United Republic of Tanzania has confirmed her readiness to participate in the CORSIA voluntary pilot phase by January 2020. Mr. President, as stated in the Convention on International Civil Aviation, civil aviation has greatly contributed to the aspiration of creating and preserving friendship and understanding among the nations and people of the world. The United Republic of Tanzania is committed to work with the ICAO member states to face the challenges in civil aviation and together to find a sustainable solution. Mr. President, finally, allow me once again, on behalf of my delegation, to thank you and wish this Assembly a very success in its deliberation. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you. I now invite the distinguished delegate from Pakistan to please take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. Honorable Mr. President, respected Secretary General and distinguished guests. First of all, I congratulate ICAO on the eve of 75th ICAO anniversary. I would like to express my profound regards on honoring me with the opportunity to speak in front of this esteemed assembly today. I would also like to express at the onset Pakistan's support to ICAO's policies and guidelines relating to all aspects of civil aviation. Pakistan is a strong supporter of ICAO's work in the field of civil aviation. Keeping in view the directives of our Prime Minister, Mr. Imran Khan, the government of Pakistan has recently formulated the National Aviation Policy in the year 2019. And I am confident in maintaining today that the said policy encompasses the latest guidelines and work into different aspects of civil aviation, ranging from government role in regulations to aircraft and aerodrome operators to human resource capacity building mechanisms. The National Aviation Policy 2019 rests on 4 cardinal principles, that is, reduce cost of doing business, ease of doing business, facilitation, and rationalization. A state-of-the-art greenfield airport has been constructed at Islamabad, the capital. Furthermore, Pakistan is transitioning from rather restrictive paradigm to the liberalized market access and grant of rights approach towards its bilateral partners. The National Aviation Policy 2019 also proclaimed support to ICAO's continuing work on the economic development of air transport vis-à-vis the conclusion of liberalized air service agreements. Pakistan, through the National Aviation Policy, has encouraged its bilateral partners to conclude liberal air service agreement based on the principles of reciprocity, organic growth, and national interest. Pakistan has also recently adopted the policy of the determination of capacity and frequency regimes based on the competition and market forces. Mr. President, Pakistan has also showcased its resolve and commitment towards ICAO standards and recommended practices through acquiring above global average scores in the audits being conducted by the ICAO. Additionally, separation of regulatory function from facilitation and formation of independent aircraft accident investigation board has also been undertaken. This clearly establishes the desire to depart from traditional aviation paradigms, thereby driving the Pakistan aviation industry in line with ICAO's guidelines and practices. Mr. President, Pakistan recognizes the concerns of the aviation community on Lahore and Karachi FIR closure or the restricted air traffic operations undertaken due to security reasons back in February 2019, this year. Consequently, contingency routes were immediately provided by Pakistan in coordination with ICAO's regional office to ensure handsome connectivity between Muscat and Mumbai FIRs. Pakistan remained cognizant of the uncertain situation faced by the aviation community, but let me assure you that we were compelled to impose these restrictions owing to threats to our national security and sovereignty of our airspace in an unauthorized manner. And it was in the interest of the safety of all passengers, traveling through civil airlines that we had to restrict aircraft movement to the contingency routes till relative improvement of the security environment. Subsequently, with incremental release of air routes on 16 July 2019, Pakistan opened its complete airspace. Moreover, rest assured, Pakistan's Civil Aviation Authority is not considering any enhancement in air navigation charges with reference to recovery of revenue lost during the prolonged airspace closures. Mr. President, it is also highlighted that since the Afghan war in 2001, Pakistan is successfully supporting air traffic flows from Europe to East and Southeast Asia and vice versa overflying Kabul FIR, including management of heavy air traffic flows under Bay of Bengal, Cooperative Air Traffic Flow Management System, that is BOBCAT. The role of Pakistan through the utmost facilitation of international efforts in the war against terrorism has proven our resolve to stand in unison with the global community in a time of need. Mr. President, furthermore, Pakistan is continuing to devise, design, and implement specialized measures to enunciate the security of civil aviation in the national aviation policy. Our efforts to ensure security protocols have been inspected by TSA and UAK recently and have been endorsed by the esteemed authorities. The auspicious occasion calls upon the need to thank the esteemed Council of ICAO, all member states, and observers in attendance for the historic developments that have taken place in the aviation industry since Chicago in 1944. I am hopeful that in the times to come, ICAO and all industry stakeholders shall continue to stand at the forefront of being contributors that enable human civilization make the best use of available resources. Mr. President, last but not the least, I would like to take a moment to thank Pakistan's bilateral partners for their shared commitment, devotion, and cooperation in continuing to support the development of civil aviation in Pakistan in the recent years, and rest assured, Pakistan will continue to exhibit its commitment and support to our bilateral partners, ICAO Regional Office in Bangkok and ICAO Headquarters in the future. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I now invite the distinguished delegate from Eritrea to take the floor.
Mr. President, I would like to join my honorable colleagues who have extended their appreciation and congratulations to the member states who have been elected in Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 of the ICAO Council. Having said that, Honorable President of the Assembly, Honorable President of the ICAO Council, Dr. Almayu Aliu, Honorable Secretary General of the ICAO, Dr. Fang Lui, distinguished delegates, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Since Eritrea is taking the floor for the first time this afternoon, I would like to seize this opportunity to say a few words on behalf of my government, the state of Eritrea in general, and the Civil Aviation Authority in particular, to convey warmest greetings and very best wishes for successful deliberations at this August Assembly. In the same vein, I would also like to express my sincere appreciation to the Mayor of Montreal and that of Quebec for the warm hospitality accorded to my delegation, and moreover for the paving the ground for the ICAO to effectively and efficiently carry out its noble cause. Indeed, the most striking observation I made during the meeting held with the ICAO President Dr. Bernard Aliu and the Secretary General Dr. Fang Lui was the unparalleled skill, degree of professionalism, and the caring and sharing attitude demonstrated in handling the issues of the state of Eritrea, which came up with it recently. It shed light for our success, and I seize this opportunity once again to express my sincere appreciation for the job well done. To that end, Eritrea reiterates its full support to the cardinal principles enshrined in the Chicago Convention and that of the ICAO SARPs, the implementation of which is not an option, but a necessity. In light of the above views, and to make note of the fact that the Eritrean scored 75.56% in the ICAO Universal AFSEC audit program, well above the African global average, despite numerous challenges and encountered up to the year 1994, where terrorists were given safe haven by the previous neighboring governments in the Sudan and Ethiopia, and financed by the notorious late Bin Laden, who then attempted to carry out the mission of all-out destruction and destabilization in the region in general and targeting Eritrea in particular. All in vain, except for the loss of one innocent foreigner working in one of the gold mining fields, the scar of which is not yet healed, but had learned a good lesson from. As a result of that, Eritrea redesigned and reconfigured its safety and security strategies by integrating aviation security with that of the state, which proved a success. Over and above that, Eritrea managed to build safety and security culture, public awareness, a sense of ownership of safety and security top to bottom. And moreover, that of expending a relentless effort aimed at developing a mindsetting for a win-win environment, that of creating a sharing and creating attitude for common good. In light of the above views and circumstances, therefore, it is not surprising for Eritrea to score 75.56% as opposed to 60% average for Africa and 70% global. Bearing that in mind, the Eritrean narrative with regard to enhancement, maintenance, sustenance of global aviation security is first and foremost to build as a prerequisite trust among member states, block by block, incrementally as appropriate, which we believe would ultimately deter migration or spillovers of terror and terrorism. In that regard, Eritrea fully recognizes and would like to underscore the merit and significance behind peaceful coexistence among member states, partnership, cooperation, unity in action, and that of going together as unshakable foundation for the realization of the goal we are aspiring to achieve under our esteemed umbrella organization, the ICAO. Indeed, current and past experiences have witnessed that regions subjected to threats, war, aggression, conspiracy, sanction to the extent of advancing notion of regime change do undoubtedly provide a fertile ground for terrorism and terrorists to breed and win over the noble cause we all firmly stand for at this August Assembly. We need to deny them. We also have to persuade states to refrain from advancing the notion, quote, we have no permanent enemy nor permanent friends, but permanent interest, which is indeed an extremely dangerous phenomenon and hence diametrically opposed to the cardinal principles enshrined in the Chicago Convention. This implies that aviation safety and security and national security are inseparable and indeed constitute two sides of one coin. By and large, the state of Eritrea has yet to deal with the safety issues, the preparation of which are close to overcome, thanks to the practical guidance provided to us by all concerned at this ICAO headquarters. Pertaining to the burning issue of gas emission and the drive for its mitigation, I have no words to add, but join hands with the narrative entertained by the honorable delegates of this assembly who have already been dealing with it. However, Eritrea believes that the role played by ICAO is a tip of the iceberg and will not save the planet. In that regard, the government of the industrialized countries must make a soul-searching exercise and heal the wounds sustained as appropriate. Nonetheless, the state of Eritrea has gone over 3 phases on CORSIA and is preparing a legal framework for its implementation. In the same vein, Eritrea is determined and committed to exploit its thermal, solar, wind energies as appropriate in pursuit of this noble objective. Honorable President of the Assembly, Honorable President of the Council, Honorable Secretary General, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude my remarks, I wish to express the fact that the state of Eritrea had cleared all its membership fee arrears, which up to the month of September was blocked due to unwarranted excuse brought about. Last but not least, Eritrea is committed and will do its level best to enhance implementation of all programs envisaged by the International Civil Aviation Organization. I thank you for your kind attention. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. I now invite the distinguished delegate from South Sudan to take the floor.
Your Excellency, President of the ICAO Council, President of the Assembly, Secretary General, distinguished chief delegates of the member states and organizations attending this August House, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset of my report, I would like to extend sincere greetings from my government, His Excellency Salva Kiir Mayardit, the President of the Republic and his cabinet, to the entire delegation here. As well, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all the members who won the Part 3 election, which was done very well. A brief statement from the delegation of the Republic of South Sudan to the 40th Assembly of ICAO in Montreal. Introduction. Please do not leave us behind. South Sudan is a young nation. It attained independent statehood in July 2011. The country acceded to the Chicago Convention of 1944 in November 2011, immediately just 3 months after the independence. Geographically, South Sudan is located in the very heart of Africa and enjoys a central location well situated to be an African aviation hub facility, facilitating Africa air transport in all directions from the north to the south and from the west to the east, parts of the African continent. It has a land area of 644,326 square kilometers and a population of only 12.2 million people. This is the third ICAO Assembly to be attended by the delegation from South Sudan after the 38th and the 39th Assemblies. Mr. President, our challenges in aviation sector in South Sudan, we would like to highlight the following constraints and challenges for the considerations and acknowledgement by ICAO leadership and some of the well-to-do member states that have achieved the highest level of advancement in the field of civil aviation. Our purpose is to remind the 40th Assembly of the requirements of the No Country Left Behind initiative, which has been lauded by many as an important policy tool for rendering assistance to those member states facing difficulties in fulfilling their international obligations to implement the international standards and recommended practices, SAPs, and procedures adopted by ICAO. This is also in line with the Article 37 of the Convention, which enjoins member states to collaborate in securing the highest practical degree of uniformity in regulations, standards, and procedures, and organization in all matters in which such uniformity will facilitate and improve air navigation. Your Excellency, President, these are our constraints and challenges in the aviation sector in South Sudan. 1, developing civil aviation infrastructure in the country, which is only 8 years old. 2, building sufficient human resources, capabilities to technically manage effectively and efficiently training in the civil aviation sector. 3, lack of institutions for aviation personnel training and their professional development. 4, deficit in managerial capabilities in various areas. 5, aviation security and safety oversight capacity training. 6, licensing and surveillance activities training. 7, certification capacity. 8, need to develop harmonization of regulatory matters with the region, especially in the area of safety, air navigation, and aviation security. Mr. President, South Sudan is implementing peace agreement and looking forward. Allow me to inform this distinguished gathering that South Sudan is presently implementing the peace agreement which was mediated by the regional group of IGAD and the African Union between the government and the opposition group to end the 3-year-old conflict in the country. All the parties have realized that peace is the key to stability, development, and prosperity. The following are some of the action plans and projects in aviation sector. A, modernization of 4 international airports, namely Juba International Airport, Malakal International Airport, Wau International Airport, and Momboy Yambio International Airport. B, plans are underway, Mr. President, for upgrading the 28 states' airports and the airstrips. C, ongoing plan for the implementation of Air Traffic Management System project, ATMS, in accordance with the ICAO standards and recommended practices to enable South Sudan to manage its airspace, which is currently being managed by the neighboring Sudan under a high-level agreement signed in the office of His Excellency the President of ICAO, Mr. Elo, Council in September 2016. D, South Sudan have embarked on the training of the air traffic controllers personnel in the neighboring countries of Kenya. E, security and safety regulations are being harmonized with the region with assistance from CASAWA. Finally, we look forward for support from ICAO and other member states that may be ready to provide technical assistance to our civil aviation authority, particularly in the technical capability development and building of the aviation institution. Mr. President, I am the alternate delegate. I'm reading the report prepared by my chief, who is not here for reasons beyond our circumstances. And with this one, I would like to submit the report to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I now call on the distinguished delegate from Guyana to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. President of the Assembly, President of the Council, Madam Secretary General, distinguished delegates. Congratulations first to my fellow Caribbean brother for being elected to serve as the President of this Assembly. We're proud of you. With the support of the government of Guyana and the assistance from the South American region and the NAC region, Guyana has been able to overcome the aviation tsunami over the past 3 years. Guyana is a small developing state with approximately 750,000 people spread across 215,000 square kilometers. For domestic connectivity, air transport is the main mode of transport. Guyana's aviation industry is comparatively small compared to a lot of other states. However, the sector is critical to our sustainable development as it supports a variety of activities from other sectors, including agriculture, forestry, mining, social services, tourism, being the state with the highest single drop waterfall in the world and some of the largest species of animals, and coming on soon to give the aviation industry a boost is the oil industry. Aviation plays an important role in Guyana's economy, contributing 3.2% to the GDP and creating 1 in every 20 jobs. Aviation facilitates the movement of more than 85% of the international traffic to and in the paradise of Guyana. That is the interior, which covers just about 85 to 90% of our country. Guyana is serviced by 2 international airports, the larger of which has been recently expanded and its runway extended from 7,500 feet to 10,500 feet. Guyana's aviation sector continues to demonstrate steady growth, more so within the last 3 years in all areas of the sector, including governance, regulatory oversight, security, infrastructure, cargo traffic. The sector's growth is at an all-time high, with annual international passengers, the growth being 7.5% in 2018. This growth, while attributed to the economic activity within the economy, is also a direct consequence of the work undertaken by the Civil Aviation Authority of Guyana. The example in Guyana is testimony of what transformation can take place when the regulatory is robust and growing. Over the last 3 years, significant progress has been made in the level of compliance with ICAO USOP, moving from 44% in 2007 to 66%, with a projected increase to 85% in January 2020, when ICAO conducts its second ICVM audit. Guyana was issued with the Council President's certificate in December 2017. The Civil Aviation Authority is presently sourcing finance for its new headquarters, which will be a modern and environmentally friendly structure, constructed on 10 acres of land which was secured from the government of Guyana. This will complement the CAA's work in human resource capacity building, digitalization of personnel licensing system, modernization of the air navigation services, which includes provision of the aeronautical surveillance service, having established 4 ADSB stations for efficient management of the airspace. Implementation of our ADSB system should be in November of 2019, that is next month. Training remains a high priority for the CA, as it would have invested significantly in training personnel. Training facilitated by ICAO and other states through fellowship and scholarships must continue, as it has proven to be very helpful for small states in maintaining the momentum of ICAO compliance. With the support of the IDB, Guyana is developing a civil aviation master plan. In November 2018, this was last year, Guyana hosted two important aviation events in the Caribbean region. One, the ICAO Air Transport meeting under the theme Promoting Connectivity for Sustainability, for Sustainable Air Transport Development, and also the third African Diaspora meeting promoting air links between African states and the diaspora with emphasis on turning words into actions. Those two meetings were attended by more than 50 states who are here at this assembly. In December 2018, the President of Guyana signed the new Civil Aviation Act, which is now in force, and which would help also with us remodeling our regulations. Guyana continues to hold open skies of liberal policies, granting 5 freedom traffic rights for passenger traffic and 7 freedom traffic rights for cargo. At the last ICAO meeting, Guyana signed over 20 such agreements for open skies with various states. Regionally, Guyana remains committed to fostering the development of air transport within the Caribbean region, which is CARICOM, as we were the first 2 countries to sign the new multilateral air services agreement for CARICOM states, which is a fully liberalized agreement as it allows free market access for all CARICOM airlines. The government of Guyana has a Green State Development Strategy for economics and transformation development of Guyana. In this regard, we are proud to have submitted our state CO2 action plan to ICAO and also written confirmation of our participation in the pilot project of ICAO Corsia. Small states are highly vulnerable to the impact of climate change. And while we are not major emitters of CO2, Guyana remains committed to playing its role in taking action to ensure the integrity of the environment is protected. Mr. Chairman, aviation makes the world a small place. And at this 40th Assembly, which is historic in its attendance, Guyana is pleased to be part of it. We voice our support for the future of aviation. Mr. Chairman, in closing, I'd like to congratulate the President, Dr. Bernard Aloui, and Secretary General, Dr. Fang Liu, for the vision and the energy employed during the past years. In Guyana, there's a motto: one people, one nation, one destiny. Today I say, let's work together as one people towards one destiny of building a great aviation sector. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much for those interventions. I crave your indulgence. We have 2 short interventions to take. We are at 4 minutes after 5, and I crave the indulgence of the delegates and our translators to take these 2 last short interventions. I now call on Japan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Japan would like to mention briefly in response to the statement to Japan made at the plenary on 25th September. The safety of international civil aviation is seriously threatened by repeated launches of short-range ballistic missiles, which are violations of the UN Security Council resolutions and unacceptable. Also, there are launches without advance notification. In order to ensure the safety of international civil aviation, Japan intends to continue to work closely with the ICAO and relevant countries. Furthermore, the claims on the issues of the past are based on factual errors and are groundless. Japan would like to emphasize that For over 70 years since the end of World War II, Japan regards the fact of history in a spirit of humility and has consistently respected democracy and human rights and contributed to the peace and prosperity of the Asia-Pacific region and the international community. If similar claims are repeated in the context of the past, Japan will refrain from making remarks. This, however, does not mean that Japan accepts such claims. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. And we'll take an intervention from China.
主席先生，世界上只有一个中国，台湾地区是中国领土不可分割的一部分。联合国大会第2758号决议及国际民航组织。
Excuse me, sir, one sec.
No.
We're not getting any interpretation.
Is it on now? Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is only one China in this world. The territory of Taiwan is an inseparable part of Chinese territory. UN General Resolution 2785 resolution and the related resolutions of ICAO have followed the One China principle and have provided the legal basis for it. At the same time, the rules of the ICAO General Assembly says that there's no such thing as a non-sovereign country becoming an observer. There is no legal basis for this. St. Lucia's representative has ignored international law and international norms and has gone contrary to the One China principle. This is contrary to the UN General Assembly resolutions and to the relevant ICAO resolutions. The Chinese side is strongly opposed to this and vehemently objects to it. We urge the delegate from St. Lucia to stop using the Taiwan issue to interfere in China's internal politics. Do not interfere with the normal procedures of this assembly for your own purposes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Delegates, that brings us to the end of our statements. We are beyond 5 p.m. and as such, we will defer the report from the Administrative Commission to the next meeting of the plenary on Thursday morning. Tomorrow, the Executive Committee will convene both in the morning and the afternoon. This now brings us to the close of business for today, and I thank you very much for your support during the day, and have a great evening.